I'd like to start by talking about the context of Brexit, and I think we need to acknowledge that Brexit is a tragedy. It marks a breakdown of international cooperation, a breakdown of international law, these sorts of things that we need to rely on in an ever more chaotic world. And that while there may be some people who revel in the opportunities of breaking these things up, ultimately, our own peace and security and prosperity will be guaranteed by working closer together and resisting that international fragmentation. And I think this bill is an incredibly important part of ensuring that we can protect ourselves in the face of the fragmentation that Brexit will cause us. Look, the sheer volume of it, the breadth it tries to take of the issues it tries to take in, show how important and how significant Brexit is. And we're here trying to deal with many of the aspects of Brexit without yet having achieved a trade deal. Despite the hard work of this government, despite the hard work of the European Union, there's still huge uncertainty. So while we are taking the steps needed with this bill, and that's very welcome, there is still huge uncertainty. So I kind of want to highlight a few of my concerns in relation to that ongoing uncertainty, as some other deputies have here today. For me, one of the important things, of course, is environmental regulation. 70% of the environmental law in the United Kingdom came from the European Union. Very little of that has been transposed into domestic UK legislation. And the challenge here is twofold. Firstly, as we have all been saying in relation to fisheries, nature doesn't give a damn about a line on a map, and it's just going to do what it does. And the reality is that alongside any problems in terms of environmental regulation in Northern Ireland are going to impact on us down here. And we need to protect ourselves by ensuring high standards there. It also cuts to the core of the issue of the level playing field, because if we're lowering environmental standards and lowering sanitary and phytosanitary regulations as a result of this, it means that our farmers are not competing, our agribusiness is not competing on a level playing field that is very much needed to ensure our own stability and our own prosperity going forward. One of the other things that is yet to be resolved is the issue of data protection. Now, I was listening earlier, and Deputy Howlin referred to the Minister as an optimist by nature. And when the Minister was at the committee for the implementation of the Good Friday Agreement, I raised this, and he was confident a solution could be found. Unfortunately, maybe it's the cynic in me, but I do not share that confidence. And I have a deep concern about data protection and data exports to the UK and the huge consequences that's going to have after the withdrawal. The reality is that if we look at what's happened with GDPR and the America and Safe Harbour and the Privacy Shield, these have been thrown out because America does not meet the adequacy standards required for the European Union to allow data export. And we're beginning to see the consequences of that in terms of Facebook being prevented from exporting data. The same things that have made America miss the target in terms of the adequacy standard for data exports apply to the United Kingdom. Alongside that, there is a huge weakness within its data protection authority. It's just quite simply not up to scratch. And when you combine the two of these things together, it really just makes it almost impossible for the UK in the short to medium term to really meet those adequacy standards, which leaves us in a situation where we will not be able to, or should not legally be able to, export data to the UK. And look, that has huge consequences in terms of police cooperation, child protection cooperation, mutual social welfare payments. And while we can agree things on that, it also will affect business, it will also affect financial services, and will have huge far-reaching effects that we're not even realising yet. So that I remain deeply concerned and deeply cynical about that, but really these are two huge areas that we need to pick up on. One last thing I'll try and squeeze in the time I have left is the issue of policing. Now look, obviously we're all working to avoid a hard border. That should be stated as a given. However, we've seen the Gardaí recently talking about needing the army to support them in terms of policing the border, particularly in the context of a hard border. Now, if we look at what the Defence Forces have now compared to what they had at the height of the Troubles and before the Good Friday Agreement, we've lost several of the barracks. We don't have the same level of manpower. We don't have the same level of logistic support, of vehicle support, of air support in those units. So hopefully that issue of providing aid to the civilian power in terms of policing a hard border can be at the very least included in the Commission on the Future of the Defence Forces, but certainly is one aspect of Brexit that I think we need to be thinking about going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.